Bienvenidos, bienvenidas, mis amigos, mis amigas. Welcome back to another episode of Mateina, the show in which we talk about the green stuff. And no, I'm not talking about the leaf that gets you high. I'm talking about the leaf that gives you energy and sometimes calms you down. This is your show all about Yerba Mate that is powered by your online store somosmateina.com. I am your host, Tomas, or you can call me Thomas. It is really up to you. We have interesting topics that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to start the show with a story. I don't know if I'm a good storyteller, but I will give my best. Then we have shade-grown yerba. What does it do? How does it grow? Well, obviously in the shade, but we'll get some details about that. Is it a better choice? How does it taste compared to other yerbas? And then we have the yerba of the week, Araí 900 days or Araí novecientos días. We're going to review that, so stick around. It is a jam-packed episode, as you already know. But before we start, we have to look at where listeners tune in from. And I'm very proud that we have grown. We're growing every single week, and we've grown again over the past couple of weeks. And since I have not done this in a while, I'm gonna give you an overview of all the countries that listeners have tuned in from. Bulgaria, Morocco, Iraq, Iran, Colombia, South Korea, Turkey, the United Kingdom, Vietnam. And then we have the usual suspects, United States, Austria, Germany, and so on. So thanks for tuning in. Without you guys, this show would not exist. So please subscribe, stick around, give a thumbs up. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And follow us on Instagram, Somos Mateina, for your 10% off coupon that you'll get with your first order on somosmateina.com. So without any further ado, let's start this show that is titled Yerba Mate Explained. Before the first light breaks over the red soil of Misiones, before the birds begin to call and the heat settles into the thick green canopy, the tareferos are already awake. They move in the dark. By dawn, they are deep inside the Yerba Mate plantations of northeastern Argentina, a landscape that at first glance feels almost serene. But beneath the quiet, there is a rhythm of labor that is relentless, physical, and largely unseen. This is where Yerba Mate begins. The tareferos, seasonal harvest workers, spend their days cutting, stripping, and hauling the leaves that will eventually be dried, processed, packaged, and shipped across Argentina and far beyond. What arrives in a polished bag or a carefully prepared gourd starts here, with hands, steel blades, and sheer endurance. The work is as grueling as it is precise. Armed with machetes and shears, workers cut through dense branches, stripping leaves in swift, practiced motions. They bundle the harvest into large, heavy sacks called raídos. Each one can weigh up to 100 kilos. Then they lift them, carry them, drag them across uneven ground, again and again. The air is thick with humidity. The ground is uneven, sometimes slick. The hours stretch long from sunrise to sunset, with few breaks and no shortcuts. By the end of the day, a single worker may have harvested hundreds of kilos of yerba. And yet, the system that governs this labor is brutally simple. They are paid not by the hour, but by weight. The more they carry, the more they can earn. The less they carry, the less they take home. On a good day, a tarefero might earn the equivalent of around 20,000 Argentine pesos, roughly 15 to 20 US dollars, depending on the exchange rate. But that number is deceptive, because it only comes after lifting hundreds of kilos. After 10, sometimes 12 hours of work, after pushing the body to its limits in heat and humidity. And not every day is a good day. For many tareferos, this means pushing their bodies beyond exhaustion. It means working through pain, through heat, through fatigue, because stopping early isn't just rest, it's lost income. And for most, there is little safety net. Many of these workers are employed informally. There are no contracts, no guarantees, no long-term protections. When the harvest season ends, the work disappears, and so does the income. But this story didn't begin here. The roots of Yerba Mate harvesting stretch back centuries to the time of Spanish colonization and Jesuit missions. Indigenous Guarani communities were the first to cultivate and consume Yerba Mate long before it became a commercial product. Under colonial systems, they were forced into labor, harvesting the plant under harsh and exploitative conditions. In many ways, the tools have changed, but the labor has not. And still, there is a paradox at the heart of it all, because in the middle of this demanding work, the tareferos pause. They gather, they sit, they share mate, the very drink they harvest. A single gourd passed from hand to hand, a moment of stillness in the middle of an unforgiving day. It gives them energy, focus, but also something less tangible, a sense of connection, tradition, identity, and community. Yerba Mate is not just a product here. It is part of life itself. But today, the life is becoming more uncertain. Recent economic shifts in Argentina have begun to reshape the Yerba Mate industry. Government controls that once helped stabilize prices have been lifted, creating a new and volatile market. As prices for raw yerba leaves drop, the impact ripples downward, from producers to workers. And it is the tareferos, once again, who feel it most. Lower prices mean lower pay, more pressure, more competition, less stability in a system that already offers very little of it. There are growing fears that deregulation will concentrate power in the hands of large companies, squeezing out smaller producers and leaving workers even more vulnerable than before. For the estimated 17,000 tareferos in Misiones, the future feels uncertain, balanced between tradition and change, survival and exploitation. And yet, every day they return before dawn into the fields, into the heat. Because this is the beginning of Yerba Mate's journey. A journey that, for many who drink it, is about comfort, ritual, community. But for those who harvest it, it's about endurance. So the next time a gourd is filled and hot water is poured over those dried green leaves, consider the hands that made it possible, the weights they carried, the hours they spent, invested, and the quiet, unseen story that begins long before you have your first sip. Well, my friends, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about someone spending 10 to 12 hours or even more for $15 to $20? Depending on how much weight they carry. Literally, they carry a lot of weight. Well, we should appreciate that, and it's important to notice that these people are the ones that bring the mate to us consumers, and we should not forget that. Prices are already low. Farmers are getting less and less. And I'm not here to start a debate whether government interference is needed or not. It's a political decision, and we're not going to talk about this. We're talking about Yerba Mate here, and we should always keep in mind that these people work very, very hard so that we can get the good green yerba in our calabash. So did you know that tareferos exist? Have you ever heard of that term? And have you ever thought about the income they make? $15 to $20, depending on the kilos they schlep. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And that brings us to the second part, because tareferos also work in the shade sometimes. Shade-grown Yerba Mate. Before large-scale agriculture, Yerba Mate naturally grew in the shades. In the Atlantic forests, a biodiverse ecosystem spanning Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. This forest is one of the most biologically rich regions in the world, home to thousands of plants and animals. And today, more than 80% of it has been lost due to deforestation for cattle ranching, soy production, and logging. Argentina produces the majority of the world's Yerba Mate, as we already know, with most cultivation concentrated in the province of Misiones. That's the northeast of Argentina. Traditionally, Yerba Mate evolved as an understory plant, meaning it thrives in partial shade beneath taller trees. However, modern Yerba Mate production has often moved away from this natural system. Many plantations are grown in full sun using monoculture methods. These systems prioritize higher short-term yields, but reduce biodiversity, degrade soil quantity, increase erosion, and often depend on synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Shade-grown Yerba Mate offers an alternative production model. So, it seems as it is the healthier version, no? Instead of clearing land, farmers cultivate Yerba Mate on the existing forest canopy or actively reintroduce native tree species. This creates a multi-layered system where yerba grows alongside larger trees and other vegetation. These environments support birds, insects, and mammals, helping restore ecological balance. This approach is being implemented in almost all regions, but mostly in areas such as Paraguay's San Rafael area, as well as parts of Argentina and southern Brazil. In these projects, farmers often work with environmental organizations to restore degraded land while maintaining agricultural productivity. So let's look at the benefits, the environmental benefits, and they include increased biodiversity, including the return of native birds, insects, and other species, improved soil structure and fertility through natural organic matter, reduced need for chemical fertilization and pesticides, greater water retention, and reduced soil erosion, and carbon sequestration through regrowth and forest regeneration. Beautiful, beautiful benefits. Shade-grown systems also support more resilient farming models. Instead of relying on a single crop, farmers often integrate additional plants such as fruit trees, timber species, and medicinal plants. Yeah, beautiful. This diversification reduces economic risk and creates multiple income sources for the farmers. For rural and indigenous communities, shade-grown Yerba Mate can provide more stable and sustainable livelihoods. It allows farmers to generate income while preserving forest cover and maintaining traditional land use practices. There are also differences in the final product, because the plants grow more slowly under shade. Shade-grown yerba is always a little bit smoother, less bitter, and more complex in flavor profile. However, this model has trade-offs. Yields are typically lower than in sun-grown system, and it can take several years for newly planted yerba trees or bushes to become productive. Forest restoration itself can take decades. As a result, shade-grown production requires long-term investment and access to supportive markets. But despite these changes, adoption is increasing. Growing global demand for sustainable and regenerative agriculture is encouraging more producers to transition to shade-grown system. Because shade-grown Yerba Mate represents a shift in agricultural practices from extractive, high-intensity production towards systems that integrate farming with ecosystem restoration. It demonstrates that Yerba Mate can be produced in a way that supports both environmental recovery and long-term economic sustainability. Very interesting, I would say. Shade-grown, yeah. If you're looking for shade-grown Yerba Mate, you would really have to look for the smaller producers. Most major brands are not shade grown. They grow in the sun or half sun. So you would really have to look out for that. There is, however, a few brands. Apua is one of them. They are true forest grown in biodiversity based cultivation. And Yerba Mate and Guayaki, which as far as I know is the same company. So yeah, look out for shade grown, try it. It has a interesting taste on your palate. Tastes a little bit different, tastes more natural. You can actually taste the forest. Yes, shade grown Yerba Mate. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that brings us to the Yerba of the week. Araí, 900 days, or Araí, novecientos días. A premium Argentine Yerba Mate defined by one key detail. And you probably guessed it. It's 900 days. Yes, they refer to its aging process, because after they are harvested, the leaves are naturally rested for approximately 900 days, about 2.5 to 3 years. This extended estacionamiento allows moisture to stabilize and harsh compounds to break down, resulting in a smoother, more balanced profile compared to fresher yerbas. Araí sources its yerba from the southern regions of Misiones in Argentina, the heart of the yerba production. The cut is traditional, a mix of leaves, stems, and powder in relatively balanced proportions, designed for a stable and long-lasting infusion. It is also produced in small batches and follows an agroecological approach, meaning it avoids synthetic additives and emphasizes more natural cultivation methods. In terms of tastes, the long aging process is the defining factor. It is known for a low bitterness, very low acidity. If you're fighting acid reflux, for example, this is much better than coffee. A smooth, rounded body and a more mature and less green flavor profile. Compared to younger yerbas, it lacks sharpness and intensity. Instead, it offers a deeper and more mellow experience. It's often described as a yerba that favors consistency over punch, meaning that flavor holds steady across many refills. Because of that, it's generally better suited for people who already drink mate regularly or are heavy coffee drinkers and want to switch to something less acidity. Beginners may find it subtle, but experienced drinkers tend to appreciate the balance and longevity. One of its standout characteristics is durability. You can sip it all day long without losing its flavor. Thanks to the aging and cut, it can hold the flavor over extended sessions, often lasting through multiple rounds without washing out quickly. So from a technical perspective, it comes from Argentina, from the region of Misiones. It's a natural maturation, about 900 days in aging. The cut is traditional with palos or con palo, and the style is aged smooth, low acidity yerba. As for the company, let's look at the company. Who is Araí? It positions itself as a smaller, quality-focused producer rather than a mass-marketed brand. The emphasis is on long aging, controlled processing, and consistency, which sets it apart in a market where many yerbas are aged for a significantly shorter period of time. Just to give you a little bit context to that, most yerbas are aged between 6 and 12 months. There's some that are aged, like Mate Rojo, up to 24 months. But overall, it's around 6 to 12 months. So that explains why Araí has a smoother and less aggressive profile, because the longer you let it sit, the less aggressive yerba becomes. Overall, Araí 900 days, Araí novecientos días is a classic example of what long-aged yerba can offer. Less intensity up front, more balance, stability and drinkability over time. If you're looking for something strong and punchy, this might not be the one. But if you're looking for a refined, low-acid yerba that you can drink for hours, yes, my friends, this is exactly where Araí comes into play. Yes, Araí, novecientos días. Beautiful, beautiful yerba. I've tried it once a while ago. It has a very distinct flavor. It's really good. It's very delicious, but it's different from all the other yerbas that you've tried. I would compare it to a yerba that is also similar in terms of aging process. That's Mate Rojo. The majority of their yerbas are also aged for about 24 months. But it still tastes a little bit different. It's more balanced. It's more flavorful. It is just smoother. And with that, unfortunately, we have come to the end of today's episode. But don't you worry, we'll be back with another episode soon. So stick around, give us a thumbs up. It's very important that you follow us on Instagram, for example, Somos Mateina. We're also on YouTube. Spotify is where you can listen to our podcasts. Apple Podcasts, of course, we're there too, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Just follow us, thumbs up, like us. Let me know what you want me to talk about on the next or one of the next episodes. You can pick the topics. I always have interesting topics that I love talking about because Yerba Mate is my passion. But if you have something that you like to hear on this episode, just let me know. If you want to be on the episode and want to tell your Yerba Mate story, feel free, reach out to me. Instagram, send me a DM, go on the website. We have a chat function. Leave a message there. Just contact me and we'll talk about your Yerba Mate story. You remember my Yerba Mate story, my first one, in which I grew a mold farm in my first gourd in Miami? If not, go back a few episodes and you can listen to the story. I think it's quite funny. Sad. I still have that gourd. I cleaned it, but I don't drink out of it anymore. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again to all the listeners out there. Also to the new listeners from Bulgaria, from South Korea, from all the other countries that I mentioned in the beginning. It's good that you are here. I'm always happy when we grow. I'm always happy that you're interested in Yerba Mate as much as I am. And don't forget, be kind to one another. Share a gourd, share a mate with someone you love. Introduce someone that doesn't drink mate to Yerba Mate. And don't forget, el café es para mortales. El mate es para leyendas. I'm your host, Tomas, or you can call me Thomas, and I'll see you soon.